Hello, this is Larry Leong, writer, director, actor, etc. of Yeah, Sure, Okay. If you've never seen this movie before, please watch the version without me talking over everything, and then watch this. Thank you. If you're familiar with ZeroGravity, this project basically ended up being the last thing we ever did in any capacity as a team, which was already a fairly loose definition. All the guys in Los Angeles were in the business to some capacity, but the ones who are working stuntmen, this was around the time they were taking off on different individual paths and trajectories, so a no-budget independent feature, in retrospect being the final ZeroGravity project, was pretty fitting to mark the end of a growth period and stepping stone for a lot of our guys who found success in the industry. If you don't know about ZeroGravity, we were a bunch of young dudes who made action shorts before YouTube, and they're all found at zgmain.com. Anyway, this movie came out in 2008 and was sold on DVD, mostly unseen until now. It took me 11 years to release it online because first I had to get past a 10-year depression which bottomed out with about 2 years of daily suicidal thoughts. But that whole saga, why it happened, the lessons learned, and coming full circle, that's all after the post-credits scene at the very end. So what you're about to hear is the DVD commentary recorded in 2008.
Yeah, Sure, Okay was 4 years in the making. I met Andrew Slyman, the co-producer, editor, and co-star back in 2003. In summer of 2004, Andrew asked me to choreograph his final short project for the New York Film Academy. That short was called Cha-Cha Chinaman, which Andrew wrote and directed. You can download it at the ZeroGravity website, zgmain.com. It was the first time we collaborated on something, and at the time we were shooting it, I came up with the idea for YSO. I hadn't choreographed anything for a long time until I did Cha-Cha, and the fighting turned out really well, so I got really motivated to do something big. The original concept was just to make a feature with no dialogue, mainly just to see if I could do it, if I really had the ability to tell a story without words. Just different, really different. I was really tired of the same old stories and plots in martial arts movies, ninjas, triads, underground fight tournaments, something involving a prophecy or a chosen one, and most of all, anything involving the words revenge or honor. You know what I'm talking about. The feature was going to be my big artsy statement that was as different as I could make it. I was also really tired of doing shorts, as I had done dozens of them either on my own or as favors for other people, so it had to be a feature. I also wanted to see if I had it in me to choreograph enough action for a feature. It wasn't until almost exactly a year after we finished Cha-Cha Chinaman that I finally decided on the main characters for YSO. I remember Andrew and I were in a pizza place down the street from my apartment, and we established the heroes, the red shirt guy and the blue shirt guy. Easy enough, since I basically just used us, the main characters from Cha-Cha Chinaman, and the mystery girl character, whose face we never see. It took about 6 months after that to finish an outline. The thing about writing the story for the movie was that I couldn't literally write it. A feature with no dialogue in script form. Couldn't do it. So I spent like 3 months straight locked in my room drawing the entire movie in storyboards. As far as shooting went, it was extremely sporadic, and we shot whenever we could get the right people together. There was always work or school or something getting in the way, so sometimes we'd go weeks without getting anything shot. I had approached some people about funding it, but it always came down to concessions or creative control that I wasn't willing to give up, and nobody wanted to do a no-dialogue movie. A feature-length martial arts romantic comedy with no dialogue. Nobody knew how to sell that or wanted to, and everyone said, well, I can see no dialogue working in a short, but not a feature. I mean, somebody should talk. And even Andrew had his doubts early on enough to say somebody should talk. He doesn't remember this, but I remember him saying it. That guy right there. Of course, all that just made me more resolute to follow through on my original plan and finish it by any means possible. Fortunately, everybody who I asked to help me on this project as performers, whether they understood me or not, they basically did everything I asked them to. I told them up front that I didn't know whether or not it was going to work, but they helped me anyway. All remarkably talented performers who supported me through it with their time and energy despite our complete lack of a budget. which is sometimes painfully apparent. Still, best friends in the world, I tell you. I'm going to be all over the place on this commentary and go back and forth between how we made it and what's going on screen. There's going to be a lot of information. So here we see my character, the blue guy, stumbling around what is really the outside of my apartment at night. Although the character throughout the movie is a heavy drinker, I have never drank in my life. Serious. So my depiction of a drunk man is probably not fooling anybody. In the flashback, I introduced Tiffany Reyes. She is pretty well known on the competitive wushu scene in the Bay Area. She had actually been a member of ZeroGravity for a few years, but had never really done anything with the team after she joined, so I wrote her in as the blue guy's ex-girlfriend. Now, everything in this flashback, including the fight scene, was shot in only 2 days. I flew her down to Los Angeles for a weekend, and we did as much shooting as we could. We took a lot of pictures and miscellaneous footage at the mall near my house to fabricate a relationship. We bought a bunch of breakable plates for these spots. Here's the first one. I didn't even feel this one. That one was thick and kind of stung. Man, my room was ghetto. I didn't even have furniture. We were almost worried that people would wonder why there wasn't a bed in there, but nobody really cared. This fight scene, like most of the fights in the movie, was not rehearsed because we didn't have time. They were all choreographed and drawn on paper ahead of time. And it is testament to the performers' talents that they were able to make these fights work. I just broke them down by shot or sequence. We'd shoot it, and if something took longer than about 5 takes, then we'd change it and move on. Just keeping momentum going while we were shooting was the most important thing. This scene was hard to edit because Andrew had to figure out where to cut back to the reactions of the blue guy reeling around drunk, although it turned out to be an advantage as well because some of the shots in the fight did not work out so well. And we didn't have time to review the footage while we were shooting, and Tiffany had to fly home. There weren't too many rough spots, but we were able to chop them out with the flashes. My glasses actually flew off there. And I get kicked in the head, and if you notice, I managed to hit the light switch and make the lights cut out for a half second. Tiffany was great to work with. She was a favorite character at the premiere, and some people were pretty disappointed she didn't make another appearance after this, besides one brief moment. I didn't know how to write her back in. Okay, now I was actually crying there, and it was actually raining. Seriously. But we didn't find out until later that the microphone was turned off the whole time outside, so that was for naught. Sucks. Getting the music for Yeah, Sure Okay was a big challenge. After we finished shooting, I looked for a band for 6 months and found nothing I liked or could afford. Came across tons of middle-aged guys with guitars claiming they could compose any genre of music, which all turned out to be, crap rock. Then, completely by chance, I came across a MySpace profile of a band called Think on the East Coast. They're a bunch of college students. I was furiously trying to get the movie done by January of 2008, and the band was also on a time limit because they had to move away for school. So I described the music I needed by scene and length, and they just jammed and came up with what they could before they had to leave. During post-production, Andrew and I got into a big fight because the music wasn't cued, but the movie wasn't finished, and I had gone through so much crap to find a band that I didn't want to apologize for it. And he was so busy with family and work that the movie wasn't going to be finished by January anyway, and that whole thing was just a very ugly mess. We eventually worked it out, and Andrew had a friend of his in New York compose some extra stuff. I should also mention that the entirety of post-production was done with me in Los Angeles and Andrew in Indonesia, And let me tell you that doing post-production cross-continent is something I will never do ever again. It was unavoidable, but yeah, because Andrew lives there. Anyway, you just saw a collage I made of Blue Guy and Orange Girl's relationship, which was fun to make. I threw a bunch of old plane ticket and movie stubs on it. Oh, this little corner, which is the outside of the bar, is actually just a wall in the apartment complex Andrew was living in at the time. His apartment was gigantic. Like, I think originally it was a hotel. And there's a poster of my sister. She had that calendar. I think she made that just so I could put it in the movie. Note the baby picture of Andrew on the desk there throwing a back fist. I'm going to refer to that later. This was my poor attempt to convey that the next 3 days were free, but I don't think anybody paid attention to how many days the movie takes place anyway. Originally, I intended for there to be a bigger difference in how the apartments were dressed to show that the blue guy was much more social and outgoing, as you could see from all the pictures on his walls, and the red guy was supposed to be more solitary and alone. There were a few pictures on his wall that we took where he's at a party by himself, and several other locations all by himself. But the shot of those pictures was cut out. It wasn't really necessary, and it didn't really show up that well, and kind of slowed things down even more than they needed to. This dream sequence was hilarious. Originally, it was just supposed to be one continuous shot. We did, 3 takes, I think. Sam Yu and I are on the sides of the camera throwing boxes. Andrew's character is basically the perennial nice single guy that, despite being a well-mannered and inoffensive gentleman, never, ever gets attention from women, as you could tell from the beginning of the movie with him in the bar. Like, when I would describe the character to single guys, they'd all be like, sounds like the story of my life. Anyway, he just tries and tries and tries and gets shot down, except in his dreams. Poor sap. Oh, the bottom of the screen during that dream had an extra black bar over it because the tops of the boxes that Davina and Leanne came out of was in the shot. But I swear to God, it was underneath the tape when we shot it. The kitchen is actually another completely different apartment, which is Sam Yu, the cameraman's. So the red guy and blue guy's apartment is made of Andrew's apartment and my apartment, with Sam's kitchen linking them together somehow. It worked well enough, although I'm not entirely sure I could actually draw a floor plan of it making sense. That is the Argentinian football team on the left there. It belonged to Sam's roommate, and we weren't allowed to touch it. And here's me again, hamming it up and failing at being a drunk. Color was a very important theme from the beginning, and it was one of the things I took from Cha-Cha Chinaman. I knew that if the no dialogue thing was going to fly, the characters had to have a distinct look, and they couldn't really dress like normal people. A good chunk of the money we had went to buying dress shirts and shoes in specific colors for people. I had Sam stand in the corner there, and he just threw that stuff when I fell. You'll notice when I'm standing up that there's a soy sauce bottle with a red cap on the floor. That soy sauce bottle appears quite a few times in the movie. Yeah, while I'm at it, I should make a count of how many different people Sam Yu plays in the movie. He already made an appearance at the bar in the beginning. Here we have the first of Red Guy's self-affirmation scenes with a mirror. Despite his constant failures, all his character has to go on is his own self-esteem, so he has these mirror moments a lot. When I first started showing this movie to people, it was usually around this scene that they realized that nobody was going to talk. Fortunately, though, everyone who gave me feedback said they never felt that anybody needed to talk. There were times making the movie that I really wasn't sure whether or not the importance of a scene would be as apparent as I wanted it to be. Like, should Andrew have more self-affirmation scenes in the mirror? Should I have more angsty moments staring at the photograph? It was really hard to tell while we were shooting it. And it made sense in the end, though. Okay, this montage was to establish that martial arts are totally commonplace in the world of the movie. We shot in a bunch of different locations for this. Here's Sam Yu appearance number 2 with Lateef, who you will see later. There's Sam Yu appearance number 3 holding Carrie's legs. Carrie, you will also see later. Both of these were shot outside Andrew's apartment. This was shot in San Leandro. Roy, Chen, Sam Yu, appearance number 4. There's me and Ken Kitagawa. And here's the infamous alley from Title Pending 2, the ZeroGravity short, seen millions of times in pieces on YouTube. I drove up to the Bay Area just to get the scene in here, and so I could include Ken and Roy. This short fight is the only thing I didn't choreograph. I asked Ken to make it up. Okay, Sam Yu, appearance number 5 with the tattoo. This is outside a movie theater we use for Couple Alley, which comes later. That's David the Belgian by the dumpster and Alvaro, just left frame. We all trained at the same open gym. And here's Pablo, the Guatemalan dynamo, who you will see later. I wanted to get all the main characters to appear at some point before their fight scenes. There's my good buddy Gene from Palmdale. Both his sisters also appear in the movie. This is the same wall my character was staggering around in the dark in the beginning. Sam Yu, appearance number 6, back in front of my apartment, which we very loosely dressed to look like a cafe of some sort. There's Aaron and Ilram of ZeroGravity fighting over the check. I pretty much made up this fight on the spot. They're both wearing my shirts. Look at the drink matches his shirt. And wholly intentional. Andrew shot this at a park by his place. I have no idea what that woman is doing. I don't know why there are ducks. There were like 2 or other spots I made up that we didn't get to film for the montage. This place was the sign shop I was actually working at while we made the movie. I was doing graphic design for a year and a half in Canoga Park. We shot most of the movie during that time. And here we introduce Sue, the shy girl. I incidentally met Sue and Rob completely by chance at E3 2005. That's Rob asleep on the chair behind Andrew. They recognized me from the ZeroGravity videos on the internet. When I came up with the shy girl character for the movie, she was basically the only person I knew who fit the character. She's not an actress, but she agreed to go along with it anyway. All that desk dressing and stationery is hers. And there's Eric, my former coworker, who also agreed to go along with my crazy caper. Only he and one other person from my old job are in this movie. The other being Wendy, the secretary. Some of her scenes we cut out, but she makes a headless appearance in one. Okay, there's a lot to cover in this montage, too. Parts of this were shot all over the place. Okay, there's Andrew's friend Amy. Her name was Vanessa. We actually had to hire a bunch of girls for this montage in the bar scenes. Sam Yu, appearance number 7 with Ashton Shane, Miss Planet Beach International 2006. There's Jean's little sister Genesis. Her name was Reagan. Now we're in Monterey, and that's my best friend Matt Shapiro up there and his girlfriend Angie. That was a long drive. There's Jean's older sister Jomeline. We shot that in Jean's backyard in Palmdale. I basically got Jomeline just so she could do this laugh in Andrew's face, and it was great. Okay, one small detail you probably didn't notice was during the flashback scenes with Tiffany, the flowers on the table were blue, and now they're orange. It's pretty brief in the flashback. Well, here's Ashton again. We shot this in San Jose just so I could put Tony Chu in the movie. Tony's a photographer now, and he had worked with Ashton before. This scene killed during the premiere, which was funny because a lot of people didn't even know who Tony was. It just turned out great. Oh, there's my sister making another appearance. Speaking of Tony, you can go to Tony Chu, TonyCHU.com to see his work. This is actually the outside of the bar we used for the beginning of the movie. I just had everyone who came on the day go outside for a minute so we could shoot this. And there's Will on the end. I made sure he was the one to get in that condescending pet. Here's Ilram again. I think that blue soda was originally going to be used for Blue Guy, but we never shot the spot. This is Sarah, one of the extras that Andrew hired. Amy again. Samu, appearance number 6, again, as the waiter. Oh yeah, there were matching orange tea lights to go with the flowers. Damn, my character is pathetic. Okay, slap montage. Sarah, Arviana, Vanessa, Reagan, Sandy, and Jomeline. He actually got slapped a lot more. And that's Andrew's friend Iceland. She was hilarious. Oh, during that slap montage, Sandy really slapped the hell out of him. We found out the day before that she had found out her boyfriend was cheating on her. Bad luck. There's Andrew's friends, Odera and Aine, who from film school. That's right. Across the street are David the Belgian again and Andrew's friends, Jared and Alwyn. This scene was a little hard to pull off. I originally wanted more people in it, but for the most part, I got all the spots I wanted. And so we introduced the mystery girl. Down goes David. Carla played the mystery girl, and it was important that we never see her face because regardless of how extreme the reactions are of the characters who are looking at her, had I shown her face, regardless of her looks, there would still be people watching this movie going, she's not that hot. So basically, her character is so attractive that she could not feasibly exist. So Carla's face is not actually the character's face. No offense to Carla, of course. It was interesting, though, because at the premiere, some people came up with some wild theories about what the mystery girl character was supposed to represent, especially with having never seen her face, making her even more unattainable. And that just blew my mind because I had never thought of the character that way. And it was just really great to see that people immediately got these different meanings from the movie. I wanted Andrew to sputter more loudly when he did this, but oh well, he's a quiet dude. I really like this slap in the head he does. It's really Asian. And here comes Sam. That's Sam Locke, not to be confused with Sam Yu, the cameraman. The great thing about Sam is that I don't have to have him do anything to be imposing besides stand there. And I knew I wanted him to be the antagonist, but not a typical antagonist. Ultimately, there aren't any black and white definites in the movie. One of the main things I wanted to say was that everybody comes from circumstances. I'll probably be repeating that phrase later. Oh yeah, we're in front of Andrew's apartment here, and I'm glad we shot here when we did, when it looked that nice, because they completely bulldozed and remodeled that area after we shot there. And back to the blue guy. The beer bottles are a different color because we shot on different days. Way to go, continuity. Coming up here is when she takes the paper. It's like the most you get to see of Carla's face in the whole movie. This next part is a joke that didn't really come off the way I wanted it to, but at the same time, I didn't want to make it too overt. I'm not sure how many people got it just by looking at it. Probably not that many. But basically here I realize I have an uncomfortable erection and stand up to fix my underwear. Serious. Guys know what I'm talking about. Here's Samuel, appearance number 8 as the mystery guy. No, wait, that's Andrew, actually. Got those shoes just for the mystery guy's color theme. Also, that piano bit was just for the mystery guy's appearances. Ugh, dirty lens. I apologize. Yeah, Sure Okay ultimately cost just under $6,000 to make. It was like 58 something something. About a third of that went to the soundtrack. Another grand went to getting locations, specifically the bar at the beginning of the movie and paying the tab and the bartender. About half a grand went towards miscellaneous equipment and tapes. Another half went to the website and some promotional materials. Unfortunately, we had to spend like $1,200 on repairing the camera at one point because the wire that controlled the focus broke. That was, oh geez, that was just like the worst thing. The rest of it went towards shirts, jackets, shoes, props, Tiffany's flight. Andrew and I basically just took it all out of our savings and just spent money when we needed to. The only thing we didn't keep track of was gas and food since production was spread out over several years. There was no real way to keep track of it anyway. The camera thing was definitely the worst thing that happened to us. It was it was just completely a fluke thing. Throughout the movie, we didn't have any serious injuries or illnesses or accidents, and no problems with security. So, all things considered, I guess we were pretty lucky. I'll tell you, though, I'm never going to make a movie with no budget ever again. Another self-affirmation. He did these moments of doubt really well in between trying to pump himself up. Now, I had actually fooled a few people with this dream sequence when I was first showing the movie. It wasn't immediately apparent that it was a dream. I was never quite satisfied with this scene, though. It always seemed a bit too simple, I guess. But when we were doing it, I couldn't come up with anything better. So that's okay, I guess. Oh, hey, there are the blue flowers and tea lights and a bottle of vinegar on the table. We, of course, shot that in the 2 days Tiffany was here. It's actually supposed to be morning here, not like I really made that apparent. You can only tell when we get to the kitchen a few shots later. There's another really great moment of doubt. I needed to have him having these occasional breaks in his self-esteem as the movie progressed. Now, the side that the blue guy came in from, there's no opening there. It's supposed to, I guess it's supposed to lead to the blue guy's room, but in reality, there's just a wall and a refrigerator. We just never shot in that direction. Here we are in front of Andrew's apartment again. We shot a lot of the movie in and around Andrew's apartment. I think I already said that. The place was gargantuan. Like, it had tennis courts, a weight room, at least 2 laundromats, and 3 or 8 parking structures, and at least 3 pools. Funny thing was, every time security came across us shooting something, none of them ever bothered us or asked any questions. At most, they'd watch us for a few seconds and then keep walking. One of the things we didn't get to finish was a more logical explanation of how we find the mystery girl. I wanted her to cause a car accident outside of the apartment, which we both hear and see from the windows of our rooms. We had a few of those shots done, but we never finished the sequence, so it just got dropped entirely during editing. Instead, it turned into this weird search that goes from mostly Andrew's apartment to Loyola Marymount University, where we shot a lot of the end of the movie. It kind of works in its own way, though. It kind of suits the whole stream of consciousness way the movie progresses. Creepy. Oh, this shot was hard. It's funny because this whole thing is just really weird. And here I am at LMU. In the original storyboards, we were supposed to show that the building she walks into is her workplace, that building right there. And naturally, it would be somewhere where she goes every day, so we would know to go back there. But we didn't get to set up a shot where we see her through the window working at a desk. Ultimately, nobody really seemed to mind, though. It's a very, yeah, sure, okay kind of thing. I think that room was actually the lobby to the dorms or something. And there's Gene again. I gave him that shirt because it didn't suit me. I don't remember where I got it from. There's Sue again. She's actually holding the book of the movie that has all the storyboards and production notes in it. Those are the fakest flowers ever. I basically went around to every dollar store in my neighborhood and bought as many different fake flowers as I could. Oh yeah, when we first saw Gene, that was Andrew's cousin Edo with the pop collar, which looked ridiculous, and Gene's friend Crystal, who came down just to help us out. This moment turned out as perfectly as I intended it to. Sue, you're a genius. And we're racing again. Oh, those stairs on the right where we were shooting some random running shots, and I almost fell on those and damn near killed myself. It was funny. Oh, close call. Now, this shot walking down the hall was really one of the earliest things we ever shot. I wanted to get as many of the fight scenes out of the way as early as possible so I wouldn't have to worry about finishing them later. Here's Pablo, a good friend of mine who is hilarious. He's a breakdancer and has done quite a bit of real fighting in his time. He's one of the best wrestlers that I know. Pablo also has an extensive background in Taekwondo. He's a pretty dangerous guy, so I'm glad he's my friend. And hereabouts, we introduce Carrie again, who I've known since I joined ZeroGravity back in 2000. He was the first of us to move down to Los Angeles. I think it was 2002 or 2001 or one of those years. And most of the team has followed, besides Tony, Ken, Roy, and Tiffany, who I threw in the movie anyway. Pablo's character, I wanted him to fight like a grappler, but also throw strikes like a cruiserweight. I didn't want him to fight Taekwondo because Mike, who appears later, is my Hapkido Taekwondo guy. But the truth of the matter is you just can't take the Taekwondo out of a guy who has done it for so many years. So his character went from this pseudo-cruiserweight, pro-wrestlerish type guy into this breakdancing grappler with Taekwondo kicks. But it was different enough so he stood apart from the other fighters, which was important. Carrie's trained in a lot of different stuff, but primarily his experience is Kyokushin karate. I like to describe Carrie as a man made of granite. He prides himself on his willingness to take hard falls and the like. Choreographing for him was pretty easy. He told me he wanted to do a lot of ridge hand and chops, which was fortunate because I had already made the fight with those in mind. They were standing in one of the many parking garages in Andrew's apartment. Despite the size of the apartment, there weren't that many places we could shoot a fight scene with minimal interference from residents or security. Not like security cared, but this little section that Pablo and I are fighting in was particularly hard because the floor was made up of jagged little rocks that dug into the shirts every time we fell down. By the time the fight was over, I had to get my shirts sewed up, and Pablo's couldn't even be repaired. Carrie's fight, I think, turned out the best of all the one-on-one fights. We had debated over whether or not to show the fights one after the other, like complete one after the other, or to intercut them. Intercutting seemed hard because there weren't many places where within the fights that allowed cutting away while keeping the fight at the right pace when we came back to it. Andrew figured out a way to do it, though, and it worked out really well. Ultimately, we didn't want to leave either character alone for very long. Oh, he grazed me with that kick. While the fights were supposed to be simultaneous. Oh, Pablo's taunt right there was so good that it actually pissed me off a little, even though I told him to do it. My character is the only one that doesn't really have an established style. Like, the blue guy is pretty much the only freestyle guy. There are a few places where I had him do other people's moves later on, but there's so much choreography that those moments aren't particularly clear. Besides having different fighting styles and colors to set them apart, I also had to make sure each fighter had a different personality. I believe that a really great fight scene tells a story. Either it advances the plot or it tells you something about the characters and why or how they fight. Carrie's character was basically just very traditional. He's respectful, doesn't hit a guy when he's down, and is there to enjoy the challenge and test himself. Pablo, on the other hand, his character was very streetwise and cocky. He knew what he was capable of and wasn't about to hold back if it would cost him. Oh, yeah, the DDT. I was actually blocking it with my arms so my face never touched the ground, but my arms never got to where I thought they should be, if that makes any sense. So it looks like I just ate it. Gets a great reaction every time I show it to people, though. I knew I had to choreograph everything ahead of time because it would save time during shooting. I pretty much knew what all the guys were capable of, so I tried to choreograph to their strengths and not add anything they couldn't already do. I drew every fight scene out, and on location I'd map it out in my head, make notes on where the corners and walls were in case we had to avoid certain angles. Like Andrew versus Carrie, I want to keep everything within the 3 walls at the end of the lot and not show the big long stretch of parked cars. Also, both these fights, like Tiffany's fight, we had no time to rehearse them. Andrew's fighting style is pretty much a hybrid of a lot of Chinese martial arts, nothing too specific, but I had him do a lot of stuff like punches with a vertical fist, a lot of what I like to call the patented Andrew backfist. Note the picture of him as a baby on his desk. I swear to God, he's throwing one in that picture. And I made him do a bunch of crescent kicks and side kicks, and unfortunately, Andrew doesn't like side kicks or roundhouses, but I made him do them anyway. In reality, he has a smattering of judo and wushu experience and was training Eskrima and Krav Maga while we were filming the movie, but he pretty much just did whatever I want him to do in the movie. Okay, that was the worst, that was the ugliest backflip ever. It was originally something else completely, but we had to change it on the day. The side drop kick to the front drop kick was actually kind of scary because of the floor. Every time we did a take, I knew I was ruining the shirt. Yeah, funny note about Pablo, he has a white and blue wristband on. I actually asked him if he had one because I wanted to use it as an in-joke to represent the Guatemalan flag. There was a lot of stuff I had to take out of Pablo's fight because it was one of the first fights I choreographed, and there were a bunch of moves we didn't get to practice. We got to practice maybe like 10% of the fight, I think. All the blue guy had to do was throw his entire body at the green guy. That short section was before the knee. We redid some months after we first shot the fight because the original ending was just really lame. It was just like a Miss Flare into the jumping knee. So I came back and added some choreography, so I'd be happy with it. Oh, this victory moment always got a laugh when I showed it to people. I thought of it as a, I don't know how I won, but I did, so screw you, green guy kind of moment. Nice mutual respect moment here. This shot with a jumping chop into the spin, Sam, you did a great job getting that. It was one of the most difficult shots framing-wise. Okay, and this fall here, let me just say that it took 2 takes and was very authentic. I'm going to keep it at that. No, that's me doing the snoring noise. Neither Pablo or Carrie's fights had much of anything cut out of it. Pablo kind of got the short end of the stick overall because I was trying to do something new with him when we didn't have time to go over it, so I had to change a lot of things on the day. Oh yeah, one thing about Carrie, he has a really great sense of timing. He has that ability to really stiffen out at the right moments to accentuate a hit or reaction. It also helps that his hair always vibrates when he throws something. So every time I give him choreography, he'll do something interesting with it timing-wise, so it'll look good. And before we have much time to slow down, here comes Mike, the purple guy. Mike appeared very briefly in the bar at the beginning of the movie, if you missed him. And here's everyone's favorite capoeira guy from a Tony Jaa movie, Latif. I knew he was going to be the one in the yellow shirt because the only people who can wear a lot of yellow and look good are black people. I'm being real, you know I'm right. Mike is my white guy. At first, I didn't want him to be the sleazy character because I thought a sleazy white guy might be too predictable. But when I had him put the glasses on and hold a smile, I pretty much had no choice. Mike was just great. He was a huge favorite at the premiere. Like every time he showed up, people just died laughing. I never expected it, which is funny because Mike actually missed the premiere and never got to see the reaction. This area was briefly shown while we were looking for the mystery girl. This is also in Andrew's apartment, as is the little cranny where Andrew's about to fight Mike. Latif's character was really fun to create because I wanted him to be the antithesis of the characters he usually gets hired to play, which are evil black thugs that get beat up or killed. Latif's character is the only fighter in the movie with common sense. Now, my background is a little bit of Aikido with some Shaolin Kung Fu, but primarily Capoeira. At first, I asked Latif if he wanted to do anything specifically in the fight, and he said that the only thing that he did not want to do was an Au Bachido. And that is the kick where you go on one hand and kick one leg overhead. Everyone and their mother has seen that kick. It is such a terrible cliche, and I didn't want to use it either, so I'm glad he said that. Crap! See how many people you could see in Mike's glasses. Mike has an extensive background in Hapkido and Taekwondo. I was looking up a lot of Hapkido throws and locks that I tried to include. Ultimately, though, I primarily had him striking. The Capoeira fight was fun because I put a lot of tricks in it, a lot of weird ground stuff. Okay, this side flip thing here, I was actually able to throw it without putting my hands down, but on the day I couldn't. I'm just going to chalk it up to my character's over-exuberance, I guess. Going back to the importance of character, it was really necessary for each person to be really distinct in their styles and mannerisms because I knew I was putting a lot of fights really close together. And if everyone fights the same or with the same angry attitude, the action just gets really tiring to watch. I also wanted to show how the blue guy's enthusiasm from his victory over the green guy gets him way over his head when he pushes the yellow guy into fighting, and how the red guy finds himself going up against someone who is the complete opposite of the respectful guy he just beat, and how exactly he deals with that. So in Latif's fight, I had him do a lot of interesting floor combinations that I really wanted to fit into a fight somehow. Naturally, they're not practical for a fight, but in the context of the movie, they work really well. You fool, don't be so trusting. Oh God, my hip. I love this shot right here. Where is it? Oh, here. Mike having a halo. Was too perfect to pass up. One problem we had with Mike's glasses through this fight scene was that they kept falling off of his face. Like earlier when he took them off momentarily, it was because they always flew off when he turned around. We ended up putting double-sided tape in several places inside the glasses, which worked for the most part. I just can't seem to hit the guy. Again, none of these fights were rehearsed. I love how in this fight Andrew's anger just gradually grows. He also gets incredibly sweaty very easily. Okay, this move right here with the crease in the pants, I got that from a Prince concert. Although Prince probably got it from James Brown. Latif's shoes actually changed somewhere during this fight because he tore his first pair fairly early on. He was originally wearing these cheap ones he got in Thailand. It was pretty amazing that as we shot this fight in the middle of the apartment complex, nobody came out to look at us despite all the noise we were making. With this small little area that Andrew and Mike are fighting in, I kept that in mind so he could do some jumping off the wall. And this bit with the flowers, just to piss him off. And Mike was just too good at this. Between the cutting back and forth, there wasn't really anything significant that was cut out of either fight. Like just a handful of shots at best. Each one-on-one fight took approximately 2 days to shoot. A few of them we spent a few hours on a third day to reshoot little stuff like Pablo's. Ow. We were particularly efficient during Latif's fight, and his only took 2 days. You? You're good. Ugh. This little area was actually a sunken exit in the front of Andrew's apartment. It was great because we were pretty isolated down there. Mike just did such great things with the character that made Andrew's blowing up that much more satisfying when he finally just goes ahead and loses it. Also, it was about here that we used Mike's fall as an excuse for him to lose the glasses right here, so they wouldn't be a problem during the end. Mike's fight turned out to be one of the longest ones, not because of the amount of choreography, but because all the great character moments. When I drew out the one-on-one fight scenes, they all were about a page and a half of drawings, but it's not like I could tell what the length was until we actually shot them. They all turned out to be about 3 to 4 minutes. Uh. Great fall. Great fall. Andrew's big angry moment here got a huge reaction at the screening. They loved it when he finally just blew the hell up. And dude was a sweaty, sweaty mess after we shot this fight. Oh, and this throw was just lucky. See, he just beat my ass, but wants to know if I'm okay. What a guy. And coming up, we have Tan Guy, Magenta Guy, really Andrew and me, that are getting into some slap boxing. With Samu, appearance number 9, in the back as a pink guy, with Sam Locke in the cowboy hat as Fluffy Chin. And when you're the only character with common sense, you're like, screw this, I'm going home. There were a few other scenes I had in mind where we kept coming across other dudes in different shirt colors who were obviously after the same thing, either already knocked out or getting into fights in the background. That hallway scene with Latif was the only one we got to do and was the most necessary one anyway. We were running out of shirt colors and often didn't have enough spare bodies to lay around. Here, for instance, I wanted there to be a bunch of guys all knocked the hell out at Sam's feet behind him when he shows up. But we didn't have enough people or shirts on the day. There's Mystery Guy again, Samu character number 8. This scene is called Couple Alley. It was a big favorite of a lot of people at the premiere. It was also one of the first scenes I came up with when I was writing the outline. Originally, there were about 4 or 5 couples, and it was in a wider area, but I was lucky to get as many people as I did. As far as the inspiration went, you know, if you've ever been a single person around a bunch of couples, I wanted to take that kind of awkwardness and turn it into something smothering and visceral. It turned out about as well as I thought it would. All these people are Will's friends. There's just past Monique and Aaron. Wait, they're coming up again. There's Monique and Aaron, who actually had never met before this day, but they kissed for the movie, God bless them. And there's Jeremy and Marcy, who needed no motivation, as you can tell. And things start to get a little trippy. Here's Will, who organized the group, and Misato. Will and Misa and Marcy and Jeremy were basically dueling for make-out superiority during the shoot. This scene didn't take long to do. We got it done in one afternoon in a few hours and went to In-N-Out afterward. Our friend Ryan Rocket from Texas just happened to show up at Will's the same day. That's a really funny story. And I used him as a stand-in for a little bit. Ryan actually appears in the character art on the website. This little alley was actually the side exit of a movie theater. I think I mentioned that before. We had some people open the doors and complained about the noise we were making, but that was only after we had finished shooting. This was definitely one of the most fun days we had on the whole movie. And we're back in Andrew's apartment. Now, I had wanted to show this lobby area beforehand so you would see it as an area that we have to go through on the way to our apartment. Basically just because this fight was the very first thing we shot for the movie, and it was before we had worked out a lot of the other locations. By the time I wanted to get some transition shot to link this area to our place, they were remodeling the whole thing for weeks, and afterward it didn't look the same at all. So we ended up fighting in a random lobby. Or maybe we had meant to. This was the first fight I choreographed for the movie, knowing that our characters were going to fight. And it was before I had locked down exactly who the other fighters in the movie were. This fight was also long. It was such a long fight. We worked on and off on this fight for like 6 or 7 days, just a few hours at a time. And it ended up being like over 5 minutes long. We just passed where the title of the movie came from. When I grabbed the punch to my neck in the storyboards, I made a note of my character making an expression like, "Are you serious?" And in the next frame, Andrew's character looks back like, "Yeah, sure, okay." And then Sam, you walked over and looked at the storyboard and said, "You know, that would be a good title for the movie." And I hadn't had anything resembling a good title up to that point, so we said, "What the hell," and ran with it. It seemed to fit the whole mood of the movie really well. And again, the characterization in the previous fights, really important, because I knew I was putting all the fight scenes so close together. And then there was going to be Andrew and me fighting. And if there were all the same tone and style, they would have gotten really boring. And this being the last fight on the block, it should have been harder and shorter. But it was really difficult to cut down last due to how we shot it. We managed to chop off close to 2 minutes. This is probably the most self-indulgent fight scene. There was a perfect example of the patented Andrew Backfist. Again, this is probably the most self-indulgent fight scene, even though it's not one of the best executed. The final fall in the fight took a while to come up with. I came up with about 3 different versions of a double KO, but they were all kind of lacking a certain momentum that I wanted. I ended up getting the idea from a Japanese pro wrestling match from the mid-'80s where, hold on. Here's the only official place where my character loses his magic glasses. That wasn't planned, but we ran with it. Anyway, I got the last fall idea from a Japanese pro wrestling match, and I took the mid-air collision concept and used jumping sidekicks instead, and it worked. We rehearsed the fall a lot at the gym, but when we actually did it, neither of us were really falling like we rehearsed. And it was pretty hilarious, actually, because we must have shot the fall from 3 different angles about 6 times each. There we go. And we just kept on saying, "I can do it better," but it didn't really get any different. This was a weird area to shoot in because the apartment would have like free breakfast every Saturday morning, and we had to wait for that to end, which is why we usually only shot like 2-3 hours at a time. And also on the other side of the room, sometimes people would be having meetings or photo shoots or all kinds of random stuff, and we'd have to try not to shoot them by accident. And again, nobody ever really bothered us, which was really hilarious. Not even people outside the windows. There was a really big pool out there, but nobody really nobody looked. It was weird. Here's Sue again. Now to go back to my old work. There's Eric, Gene, Rob, me. Nice work shoes there, Gene. It didn't seem to be particularly important what Andrew's character did for a living. I just envisioned him at a desk. So I never really made it a point to specify what Sue and Andrew actually did there. We shot a few other things here, like Andrew trying to ask out the secretary and Eric instead hitting on Wendy, which was the most hilariously awkward thing I ever saw. And ultimately, they weren't that necessary. There's enough of the main characters looking like pathetic failures elsewhere in the movie, so whatever. Oh, now I love doing scenes where a lot of stuff happens in one shot. Like setting up the next scene with Andrew at his desk. That was so much fun. I think we only did it twice. Oh, here we go. There's Eric. Here's me and Gene faking a conversation on the right. There's Wendy. And here's Rob hitting him with a box. I hit Andrew directly in the eyeball with that box when we rehearsed it. This scene got a huge laugh. I just crack up every time I see this because it makes me think about the bizarre architecture of our character's apartment. I should try to make up that floor plan. Here's a good montage where all of Andrew's training at Juilliard really paid off. Oh, this is Andrew's sister, Andrea. He shot this in Indonesia. He had to go back there for a few months, like at least twice while we were shooting. Oh, the loathing. I don't know how he did this shot with the pigeons, but that was such a great shot. Oh, Iceland did a great take of just like ranting and swearing at him. Oh, there's Sandy again. Amy. We couldn't use Iceland's rant, of course, but it was pretty epic when we shot it. This little bar area is actually on the opposite side of the room where we shot Andrew and I fighting. There was a great lounge/bar area that was never used. As you can see, my character's lame ass is still holding onto that picture. There's Sam Yu doubling for Sam Locke. Apparently, he chases sake with soy sauce. This scene was very hard to plan because it was one of those instances where I wasn't sure how much we needed to emphasize certain things. Like, it was a really important moment. But doing the whole no dialogue thing, I really had no idea how it would come off. It was around the 2/3 point of shooting that we really had our doubts about people, possibly losing interest or not following the story. Like, I don't think everyone noticed the bracelet thing in the photo and the fact that he was wearing both of them. But at least it becomes apparent in the end. The photo being ripped and taped together was the most important thing. And there's my sister's friend Dee, who doesn't even bother with the glass with drinking vodka. And she just squeezes into the corner frame there because there isn't an opening or door. It's just a solid wall. I was just pretending there was an exit there. All the beer and liquor bottles were collected from Andrew's cousin's house, and we kept them in a giant box and used the same ones for the entire movie. This scene was hilarious. That's my sister's voice doing the screaming and struggling. We recorded that like months later. There's Sam Yu, appearance number 10 on the left, and me on the right in my blue Vans. And all of this was shot in Andrew's parking garage. Originally, I was against using a garage because it's kind of a cliche location for no-budget movies. That shot is hilarious. But this garage had these really great orange, green, and blue lights. I wouldn't have used it if it was just normal, boring fluorescence. Okay, the ninjas. The ninjas are Carrie, Mike, and Sam Yu. Also, originally, they were not supposed to be ninjas. But when I put the masks on them, especially Mike, they started posing, and there was really nothing I could do to stop them. I came up with this fight almost entirely at the last minute on one sheet of paper, and we didn't have time to practice it until we shot it. I remember trying to come up with parts of it just with like Andrew and Sam at a park, but choreographing a 3-on-1 fight with only 3 guys, I didn't really get that far. This day of shooting was also one of the best we ever had because we knocked out the entire fight in about 5 hours. We also had some of the best outtakes ever from this day. Like, after we were done shooting, I ordered a bunch of pizzas, and we just watched the footage and laughed so hard I almost died. A lot of people, when they first saw this, didn't catch on that it was a dream sequence until the end. I tried to make the red guy as uncharacteristically heroic and confident as possible, something he never is otherwise. Also, you may have noticed that the knives changed from the beginning. I had to shoot the close-ups of the knives afterward, and we only had a butterfly knife for those shots. I remember Sam here. He wasn't particularly happy with his fall, but I didn't let him redo it. All this stuff with the mystery girl was shot on a separate day with only Sam as a body on the ground. I remember it was particularly hard because on that back wall there was a giant pile of garbage that we had to shoot around. It just came out, it just appeared from nowhere. Oh, he totally didn't do this kiss right. I kept telling him to exaggerate his face like he was sucking an egg. That's what I kept telling him. But that was as good as it got. I can't remember if it was a coincidence that his pillowcases were red. I know I bought blue ones just for my character. As far as the colors and themes representing things, I never thought about that. I chose colors based on what I thought people looked good in, or what we might, happen to own. Um, I always think it's more fun when the viewers come up with metaphors and theories and stuff like that. I am not the biggest fan of intentionally putting metaphors in my own projects. I could say that this or that visual is a great metaphor, but for what? I don't want to have it predefined. Whatever the viewer makes of it. I was already pretty surprised by what some people came up with at the premiere. Okay, this training montage was just supposed to be completely ridiculous. I don't think it ever got as ridiculous as it should have been. I wanted it just to show the contrast in methods and styles between the red guy and the blue guy, which was easy enough. You got the punch guy and the kick guy. But it didn't quite get the laughs I wanted at the end. I didn't come up with enough gags. I was also wondering if me having my shirt off at parts, I was wondering if that was too much. But I wasn't really showing anything off. It was kind of like Damn 3, where it wasn't gratuitous. I don't know. This whole thing, it just... Oh, the ab roller thing. I put this in the end just because Andrew happened to have one. I don't remember why he had one. I would always come into his apartment, look at the thing, and be completely confused as to why it was there. God, my room is ghetto. I actually have furniture now. It's wild. These abs. Sam Yu, appearance number 11. Oh, that shot right there I did as a joke. I didn't want to use it because I thought it was too close to possibly breaking the fourth wall, plus it was quite possibly the smuttiest I've ever looked in anything ever, and Andrew used it just to spite me. I swear. I got a huge laugh at the premiere, though, so I guess it's okay. Right. And this was the back of my workplace at the time. There's Gene yet again. The flower guy was obviously making a killing during all of this nonsense. Shooting here at LMU was usually nice, but we ran into a lot of problems. First of all, it was windy as hell up there. The campus is at the top of a hill, and the wind was just going nuts all the time. And the clouds were screwing with us like crazy. They traveled so fast that it would literally be sunny for a minute and then completely overcast for a minute. There was absolutely no consistency. We were shooting there while the students were on break, so at least we didn't have trouble with people watching. Actually, with the clouds being how they actually are up at the top of that mountain, I guess the fights are actually pretty accurate in terms of how sporadically they're lit. People just died when Mike showed up again. I like the face that Andrew makes right there. It's like a fish. Now, this big group fight we managed to shoot in one day. Just getting everyone there on the same day was enough of a hurdle. Also, again, there was no rehearsal time. It was all pre-planned, and we just did it shot by shot, and thank Krishna that it worked. This was also the very last fight that we shot. We knocked it out in about 5 or 6 hours, I think. I can't say anything about the choreography process other than I just came up with it in my head. It was really difficult to draw out. And I'm completely serious when I say this. In the earliest versions of the movie, this last fight was 8 people. I have a page of choreography and what looks like the world's messiest football play on it, but I really wanted to do an 8-man simultaneous fight with as little subgrouping as possible. You know, big fights usually involve everyone splitting off into 1-on-1s or 2-on-1s or whatever. And when everything got scaled down, I just settled on 5. I know I could do 8, though, so maybe someday. As you can see, the sky already went from sunny to overcast. It did this all day, every time we shot there. And it's going to get sunny again soon. Throwing Carrie and Pablo at each other was a lot of fun because they're 2 of the toughest guys I know, the most durable guys I know. Mike, again, had his glasses taped to his face. Oh, this shot was great because Pablo always flew in a different direction. It's sunny again. I really like doing 3-for-alls. My first was in Damn 3, and it was kind of an epiphany, so I always leaned towards really complicated stuff. This worked out really well considering we only had about 3 takes per shot due to time constraints. And it's dark again. We really did manage to get a lot done. Unfortunately, Pablo here, he kind of got the short end of the stick again. I had a bigger finish in mind for him, but we ran out of time. I'll make it up to him in another project. I think we shot most of Andrew and I fighting on a separate day to save time. Apart from the shot where we get tripped with Mike and Carrie. Right here. Yeah, in the end, I wanted Pablo, Mike, and Carrie to more or less end on an even keel, but knocked far away from each other, but we didn't get that far. All I knew was that I was going to have Carrie fly into a tree because I knew he'd be up for it. And here's Sam Yu doubling for Sam Locke again to get rid of the pesky trio. The falling onto their flowers thing was actually coincidental at first, but we figured what the hell. We just had all of them do it. Except for Mike, sort of. Carrie did this fall like 3 times. This fight with Sam Locke, we actually shot way before the 5-man fight. Like, the fight for all was the last fight we shot. In order, I think we did Andrew versus me, Pablo versus me, Mike versus Andrew, Carrie versus Andrew, the ninja fight, Latif versus me, Tiffany versus me, and Sam versus Andrew and me. And then like 4 months passed, and then we did the 5 for all. This fight scene was actually based on a 3 for all that I made up for Title Pending 3, which we never made. When I was still living in the Bay Area in 2003. I made up this long-ass fight and storyboarded it by taking pictures of Spider-Man action figures. I knew I'd come back to it, so all I had to do was make up an intro section that was more or less one-on-one and lead into the 3-for-all. So this part you're seeing right now. So as you can see, the clouds are just playing havoc with us the whole time. We actually managed to do this entire 3-for-all in 2 days. And coming up is going to be the longest shot I have ever made up with so many moves and 3 people. Right here, there are like 20 beats, although the first 3 were cut in a different shot. We did this from 3 different angles, probably about 9 times in total, maybe more. I rehearsed just that one long shot with Sam Yu standing in for Sam Locke, but Sam Locke had to learn the whole thing on the day. Looking at how long this thing was, I'm actually pretty surprised we got it done as quickly as we did. There were very few changes made to it, too. Shadows are driving me nuts. This is why I prefer shooting fight scenes indoors. Any place where you can control the light and shoot all day without crap changing. Although, I can't say I regret any of it either. This was like the last really old-school, just go out and do it project I ever did. And finishing it was by far the most important thing. We just saw it through to the end by whatever means we had. I reiterate, I'm never doing a no-budget project again. It was important to me that I finish this movie, though, because I was actually considering moving on to something else if I couldn't realize, yeah, sure, okay, from start to finish. I was really trying to be the change that I wanted to see in the genre. I was told repeatedly that it was conventionally unmarketable, but as long as I could do it and finish it, that was fine by me. And oh yeah, in this fight, I don't think too many people noticed, but there is a complete lack of continuity regarding my shirt being tucked in and whether or not a glasses strap magically appears on my head. It wasn't a problem for Andrew. His shirt was always untucked. And here is the magical moment where our heroes put their differences aside and combine into a giant robot. Or not. I remember one guy at the premiere complained that the fight scenes were too long, and his reasoning was that fights in real life don't go on for 10 minutes. And I know people have different preferences for fight scenes, but what action in this movie has anything to do with reality? Nobody talks, and everyone uses martial arts to solve their problems. Oh, those were the worst. Oh, right here. These are the worst roundhouses I've ever done. I apologize, America. Okay, these last falls coming up after Andrew has this nice little solo bit here. Andrew rehearsed his over-rotated front flip like crazy and did about 4 or 5 takes, and he kept getting mad because he wanted his knees to completely miss the ground, and they never entirely did. That was the best one he did. And this big spinning kick I do to Sam is called a Cheat 900. On the day we did it last, it was cold and tired, and I couldn't get it above waist level, but the angle made it work. I tried for the over-rotated backflip about 3 times, but it was pretty clear that it wasn't going to happen at that point, so we just used the best one we had. I didn't want to make Sam do that backfall too many times either. This shot was hard to do because Sam apparently has a very sensitive skull. So we had to do it like 5 times. Oh, and here's the bracelet thing again, which is more apparent this time. And here's the mystery guy again. There wasn't much to the mystery guy other than that I knew I didn't want any of the main characters to end up with a mystery girl. It had to be somebody who was too smart to get into any fights. In the original storyboards, I had considered him being the attractive male equivalent of the mystery girl, but in the end it was easier for it to be a seemingly unique but average guy who just knew how to avoid trouble. There was also a practical reason in not showing his face because not only was it ironic in the story, but I didn't know who was going to play the mystery guy until like right up to when we needed to shoot his scenes. And of course it ended up being Samu. This ending was one of the first things I came up with during the outline. Red guy finally breaks down and the blue guy finally laughs at the absurdity of it all, and I knew I was leading into a kind of role reversal in the end, but I didn't want to make it too black and white. I really like how it turned out anyway. There really weren't any scenes cut out of the movie. I think I said that before. Existing scenes or montages were just cut down if they went on too long. Like there were several more scenes that we shot with when Tiffany was here, and we had an implied jealousy angle. Like the always alone red guy seeing the blue guy happy all the time and like having to hang out with them or drive them around or watch them hog the laundry room, but it wasn't necessary. I didn't want the flashbacks to go on too long. And the future is empty. Deep. Dude did not want to stand up. It's freaking heavy. Okay, to be honest here, I don't know where they're going. I just wanted to show these. I just wanted to show the other 3 guys one more time. And here is Samu, appearance number 12 as the bartender. This is probably my favorite shot in the whole movie. I love how the timing works out. Originally, I had hoped the girls walking in would be Leanne and Davina from Andrew's first dream sequence with the boxes and the flowers. That would have been great. But we used Dee instead because Davina wasn't available that day. Oh, we did this shot like 3 times, and one joke take where Dee and Leanne were drunkenly fighting in the background. Broke a bottle on one take. Now, the blue guy's job was never really explained, but it wasn't really important. In the storyboards, I had scenes and set dressing that implied he was a courier or a mailman or a delivery person or something along those lines. I don't really know what he looks like, possibly a student or something. Oh, I didn't actually have a watch on. You know, it's not like many people wear watches anymore. I had a black strap from a camera bag or something, and I just tied it to my wrist with electrical tape. Dude's late for work. Not like he gives a damn. Eric is looking at the storyboard book. Rob's hair is sticking up. Bandages seem necessary, but at the same time, I could have avoided them altogether. Maybe they're a metaphor. I don't know. Andrew's hand is actually covered in leftover adhesive vinyl. Oh, hey, there was a girl in front of you all this time, you dork on. I like how that coffee maker is completely missing the filter. Sue did a really great job considering she's never acted, and I was like, okay, be a hot, awkward nerd. Thanks. Oh, and this gag coming up, I originally had him turn and walk directly into a door frame, like the cool and suave guy he is. But the room didn't really work for that, so I had him walk into a banner stand that Gene was holding. And there's me on the left again in the hat, barely concealed in my green shirt that I had Pablo wear for the five-for-all. It's also miraculous that when Andrew was thrashing around, he didn't spill any coffee. Amazing. I like wrapping things up. The blue guy and Sam Locke's characters, they really weren't that different. But in the end, it's not good or evil. Everyone comes from circumstances. Okay, this bar was called the R Bar. It's in Koreatown. We rented it for 2 days. There's a statue of General Guan Yu that I put in the counter, no reason. The first day we mainly shot stuff for the beginning of the movie, which was a lot less people, but we still used some of the footage for the second day when we got as many people as possible. The first day had girls that we hired just to be extras, and the second day was entirely friends and friends of friends. There's Crystal, who appeared earlier in the movie, and Gene again. In the ending, I wanted all the fighters to show up. You know, no hard feelings. I'll admit I was surprised how handily Pablo beat Carrie. Pablo is wearing my Great Outdoor Fight shirt. If you know what that is, you are awesome. We shot this scene with Lateef the night we finished his fight scene. And there's Samuel's pink guy, and there's Fluffy Chin again. Oh, as an example, this shot was from the first day, and this is from the second day. There's Odera again with Monique and Masato. I didn't want these two to automatically hook up. Naturally, they'd have to stay awkward for a while. Good Lord, I am a ham in this movie. But I'm a ham in real life, so what you gonna do? Oh, this got a huge laugh at the premiere. Although in reality, that's Rob on the left, Samuel in the middle, and me on the right with a black T-shirt wrapped around my head because I lost one of the masks. And here's our intrepid cameraman doing his best ballistic kiss impression. Oh, that's Michael. He was an excellent bartender, extremely friendly guy, and was a great help. See, everybody hurts. I wanted to get a fake tear running down his face, but it wouldn't have been visible. Just looking at this last shot, I remember how surreal it was at the time that we were actually finished with shooting. It was literally the last shot of the last day. I mean, of course, post-production took another 11 months across 2 continents and was extremely painful, but still. So in total, there were 53 days of shooting spread out over many, many months. Writing and storyboarding took almost a year. Post-production was nearly a year. That's right. Earlier I mentioned that the last fight was an 8-for-all because all those years ago I had Aaron and Ilram as 2 guys that showed up just for the last fight. And Sam Locke was supposed to be in the 8-for-all. And then it would have eventually just led into the 3-for-all instead. But when we got to it, I couldn't guarantee Aaron and Ilram's involvement, so I dropped it to the 5 that were already in the movie and saved Sam till later. And Aaron and Ilram showed up anyway in that one short little thing during the montage where they were fighting. Anyway, I'd like to once again thank everyone who helped me out in making this crazy story of mine a reality. It really resonated with people at the premiere, which was already more than I had hoped for. I hadn't really explained the story to very many people at all, and I didn't know half the people at premiere anyway. Man, I was sweating bullets that day. I just wanted to make sure that people understood what was going on, and the story came through and made sense. Also, part of the reason for no dialogue was that I wanted to make something that didn't have to be translated, something that ran on universal themes and emotions. So hopefully in the future this movie will find a broader audience. Oh yeah, this last scene was originally part of the montage where Andrew's getting rejected by women. I'm stomping around seeing happy couples. I went up to Oakland to shoot this so Melandro, who was in my shorts Damn, Damn 2, and Damn 4 would be in the movie. It was too long to fit in the montage and broke the pace, but I didn't want to leave it out. So, but it makes for a good, open-ended kind of pseudo-epilogue. I didn't have a specific meaning for it, but it works nicely.
So, about that depression. The movie came out and I was supposed to promote it, but all I could really see were the flaws, which were apparent immediately. Now, this town is built on the backs of people who crawled their way through the wreckage of unfinished projects, so it was a big deal that we finished it. But in the end, it had so many problems and they were all clearly my fault. Every last one of them. I rushed the whole thing. I didn't spend enough time trying to find funding or better cameras or proper lighting or better sound effects. I just pushed super hard because I swore the action would hold it up. A lot of it was overconfidence and a lot of it was being a stubborn idiot. But there's no compensating for a lack of technical ability, so it wasn't a movie I could confidently push. And because everything was my responsibility, the movie became a representation of all my flaws as a person. I was ashamed of who I was when I made it, and I could not be proud of the movie for that reason. The worst of it was in post-production. I was such an awful person to Andrew, who was editing it overseas, and I've since apologized to him. He said it was no big deal, but I still feel really bad about it. In the first year of its release, I sold out the first DVD shipment and basically made my money back, but then I just buried the movie and I never wanted to think about it. I gave up on choreography, I gave up on filmmaking, and this went so far as to carry over to all the ZeroGravity stuff we ever made. I didn't want to look at it, I didn't want to think about it. I just despised seeing my younger self. And my self-imposed hiatus, well, it turned into a short-lived YouTube fitness show for a while, which wasn't the same thing, of course. And my depression just kept getting worse because all my failures felt dead center all the time. And when you bury something and you're always running away from it, that means it's just always holding this little presence in the back of your head. I internalized everything so nobody knew. I spent my middle 30s without a creative pursuit, and when you have depression, you don't make things because you tell yourself, well, why bother even trying? It's not going to matter, and you'll probably screw it up anyway. Then I lost a close friend to cancer, and my existential crisis peaked. So there were about 3 years of me waking up every morning and debating whether or not it was worth getting up or killing myself. So, not to tell you my entire life story, but it took about 1.5 years to get past that and find enough goals to get excited about life again. And once I could finally accept my past self, which was extremely difficult, I looked back on this movie and all the old ZG stuff and saw it with new eyes. Like, this stuff is good. We got a lot of fans from that time, and I decided it should be collected, cleaned up a little, and put out again. Not to have any kind of resurgence or anything, just to make it presentable again. It's not new, it's all in the past, but we made good stuff, and we should be proud of it. So, if you made it this far in the story, you've probably thought, you know, Larry, for an indie film that didn't turn out the way you wanted, isn't 10-year depression, even in hindsight, kind of an overdramatic response? Well, number one, I was a very dramatic person. And number two, it's what happened. And me being able to finally talk about it openly is a very big deal. For me to deny myself and what we made, it's a complete disservice to anybody who's ever helped me make something. Like, look at this movie. Everybody did a fantastic job. How could I be so selfish? The depression only happened in the first place because I was too self-centered, and that dark period, as long as it was necessary, because now I'm back on my feet with some clarity. Recently, I read Philip Bailey's autobiography. He's the lead singer for Earth, Wind & Fire. And he had a passage that, well, he wrote it as a musician, but it really applies to anyone who is a creative type or artistic in any way. So I paraphrase. Performing and entertaining is about service. If you keep that in perspective, you can't wander too far off the path. It's only when you get too self-absorbed that you lose your way. That passage sums up my entire problem in a nutshell. Just thankfully the lesson sank in sooner than later. If you're an artist, you can't let a single past work define you. It only defines you in that moment. And even then, it doesn't tell the whole story. And the work is not about me. It's not for me. It's for everyone. It's for the audience and everyone who worked on it. You make something, you put it out there, and all that really matters is you stay consistent and keep creating until the wheels fall off. So to everyone in the movie, I eternally apologize for hiding your performances behind my neurosis. Now the movie is out in the world. It's going to be whatever it is to whoever watches it, and it's about time I finally started moving forward again creatively. And if any of you out there are depressed, I hope you keep searching for those reasons to live and find goals that fulfill you, and hopefully get to the same conclusion I got. Which is, after I stared into the abyss long enough, I found out it's not worth staring at because I have got shit to do. Thanks for listening.